Shawshank Redemption. That's the name of the movie I was thinking of earlier. Not important, but that was it.
When do you think Marshall's coming back? It's not like her to be absent during the crisis.
The director shut it down.
Sorry, I just... Darling asked for any additional materials to the stuff. He asked for anything that...
Jesse, good to see you. We've got Dylan situated in his containment cell like you asked. I've got medical staff running tests as we speak, and I'd be happy to walk you through the details later. Other than that, what's next?
With the slide projector turned off, the hiss are shut out, but we're stuck with the ones already here. We can't lift the lockdown until they're all eradicated. If any hiss ever got out, that would be the end of everything.
Well, eliminating them all will take time. Look, I'll do what I can on my end, but my research is progressing slower than I'd like.
I think I can help with that. I am making you the head of research, effective immediately. I want you to use everything the Bureau has, every resource, every confidential scrap of data, and find a way to keep the hiss out for good.
That's... really? I mean, yes, I can certainly... Yes! Yes, I accept.
You'll do great. Besides, I didn't really have anyone else lined up.
I'm honored, Jesse, really. Thank you. Do you remember Mr. Tomasi, the head of communications? The hiss he was changed into showed up in containment, near the turntable.
I'll take care of it. That thing's not getting away this time.
I've heard reports about his particular use of language and intonation when repeating the hiss babbling. The biological and behavioral distinctions between different hiss-corrupted individuals is truly fascinating. I wonder if I could categorize the data.
And she's already off on her own thing. How do you feel about me taking over as director?
You act like it just happened. You've been director since we first met, remember? I'm still thrilled. Nothing's changed. Not for me. But the Bureau has changed. Trench and Darling are gone. Their knowledge, anything not written down, disappeared with them. They knew the Bureau better than anyone.
They're the Bureau's past, Emily. We won't operate like they did. We'll learn from their mistakes. We'll be better than they ever were. We won't ever be like them. When the hiss got into my head, I saw some weird things. I think Darling even spoke to me. Does that make any sense to you?
Empirically, no, but phantom voices as well as hallucinatory states are not uncommon here. And considering the forces that Dr. Darling was working with, he could have been transferred to a different plane of consciousness, physically or otherwise.
And that doesn't upset you?
Oh, very. And the fact that he hid those forces from me? It's infuriating. But Darling's dream was always to look beyond our reality. This time he may have taken a step too far, but as long as his consciousness can perceive his surroundings, I'm sure he's loving it.
Maybe Darling was just trying to protect you from the darker side of his work.
Fuck that. I'm not a child. Like, don't just assume I'm gonna consider something morally repugnant.
Which it all was.
Which it all was, of course.
How is Dylan?
The same. I can't detect any his activity, but his physiology has certainly been altered by it. And I can't tell if his brain activity is genuine or simply the aftermath of the hiss, like spasms. Dylan could wake up tomorrow for all I know. I really can't say.
Then I just have to wait for him. That's fair. He waited a long time for me.
Don't worry, we'll be monitoring him round the clock. If he wakes up, we'll be ready. I don't mean that in a hostile way, just... well, you know.
I hear you. My brother isn't exactly popular around here. I hope one day he'll have the chance to change that. So, there was a moment after Hedron died that I couldn't feel my powers. The hiss got into my head. Just for a moment.
So that explains the HRA outage. Before we knew what was happening, the hiss had us. They were in my head. I saw terrible things. I mean, I was about to go under forever when the hiss was pushed back. The HRAs had come back on. And Dylan vanished afterwards, and we fought off the hiss that came after him. So if Hedron's death knocked out the HRAs, that means there must be a new local source for them to relay, which I'm guessing must be...
me.
You. Hedron is dead, assuming that word even applies to a resonant-based life form. But whatever it awakened in you, the power you call Polaris, is still active. Or at least, that's what my instruments are telling me.
I don't think we're ever gonna understand all of this. And I'm okay with that. I'm just glad you're here with me. That's good to know. Thanks, Emily. I found Dylan attacking the astral plane and the board. What was he hoping to accomplish?
Huh. Since they arrived, Hiss have been corrupting objects of power, which have an inherent link to the astral plane. Maybe their goal was to access the astral plane and the board itself.
That still doesn't tell us why.
His motives are a difficult thing to work out, but I have been digging through confidential files and noticed a strange gap in knowledge regarding the board. Looks like any data on them has either been deleted or was never gathered in the first place.
Then maybe it's time someone looked into that.
Maybe it is.
Well, I've got a bureau to run. See you soon.
Yes, ma'am, Director Faden.
Please, Emily. Not even as a joke.
Who moved my waveform?
Sorry, Darling asked for materials to be stored for future instructional video.
Jesse, when you were down in research, did you run into a Dr. Rhea Underhill?
I didn't. Who is she?
She is a colleague of mine. A researcher studying a kind of extra-dimensional mold growing below research.
Well, I don't like the sound of that.
No one does. Look, I haven't heard from Rhea since the hiss arrived. Would you mind having a look around for her next time you're in research?
Of course.
Thanks, Jesse. Now, what's on your mind?
Well, I've got a bureau to run. See you soon.
Yes, ma'am, Director Faden.
Please, Emily. Not even as a joke.
Could survivors be hiding inside?
It's possible. I remember a report about the department head was found.
Any luck finding the armory? None.
Looks like you got shifted. We have rangers checking those things.
Size the house on the sea, man.
Darkness engulfed the elevator. There was something there, reaching for her, trying to make her act. It was a distress call. Faden sensed a drowning man, a hunger in the dark. Investigation sector.
Investigation sector, huh? We should check this out.
So Darling is really gone. End of an era.
That's what they're saying. I heard something.
Careful out there, Director.
Gotta be methodical.
Heard the director stopped the hiss, right? Sounds like she can play hands.
Finally, someone had the balls to take the fight to them.
Director Faden did a sterling job handling this, especially considering how new she is.
The hiss are still all over the bureau. Is she gonna get them out?
I'm sure she will. It wouldn't kill you to admit she's doing a good job.
Jesse Faden, Director of the Federal Bureau of Control. I still don't quite believe it. But you always knew where we were headed. Even if it was a dream, I feel Darling reached out to me through the hotline. I have a feeling he problem in the Foundation. That was Auti's vacation spot. We need to check this out.
French is dead, along with Salvador and Tomasi. Marshall's missing.
The director shut it down. No problem. It's a huge hit. Huge. What are you talking about? I've told you 100 times to stop with your conspiracy horseshit.
Dark, quiet, trans-dimensional. This place really suits Ahti. So that etching is the door. Okay, let's try opening it. No time for sightseeing. The board said this was an emergency. Looks like no one's been down here in a while. Crystals are kind of pretty. Emily would be having a field day down here.
My life's been a strange one. Certainly stranger than I'd like. But this place, it's something else. The floors crawl, the walls slither. It's a shifting pit. On the street, it's just another drab building standing there for anyone to see. But no one does. How did we miss it? Northmore. Acting director Northmore now is on a train from Washington. He'll expect answers, which is why I'm making these tapes. They're evidence that I'm at least trying to understand. Father searched his entire life for something like this, and we find it 1 week after he's buried. He always hated irony. Of course, Father, the great director, Ash, would have been the first man in. And look at me, his bookworm son, the supposed head of research who can't stop his legs from shaking long enough to step over the threshold.
The foundation. Bottom of the oldest house. Stop the hiss.
Marshall? How was she on the hotline? Unless she's dead. Jesus. She seemed like the kind of woman who could survive anything. Found their way down here too. Those paintings look old. Like, old. Pickaxes now. The astral plane is cutting into our dimension. What if this happens in the upper floors? It'll destroy the Bureau. I wish I'd brought Emily with me. I could really use my head of research right about now. Marshall? Marshall! You're alive! Wait! It's Jesse! The director! Whoa. This place is huge. Marshall? Can you hear me? She was on the hotline, so that person couldn't have been Marshall, right? One problem at a time. Let's see what's going on with that pillar first. So I can only choose one? I thought I was done with these tests. Okay, let's review. This broken pillar is called the Nail. It was broken by something, and now the astral plane is bleeding into the foundation, which will destroy the oldest house, the Bureau, and everyone inside. I need to find 4 locks, or keys, or whatever, to stop that from happening. But I'm the director. I've handled worse. This should be simple-ish. You with me?